Gregory H. Howard presents A Minecraft Christmas Tree, inspired by A Christmas Tree by Charles Dickens, originally published in 1850, narrated by Gregory H. Howard, also known as The Dark Lord. Gregory H. Howard is the creator and host of the podcast Realm News and Realm News Hightail, known for their rich storytelling, in-depth analysis, and immersive world building. He is also the author and narrator of Torvingi in the Village of Alp, a dark fantasy novella distinguished by its atmospheric tone and vivid narration. Through adaptations, original fiction, and audio performance, Howard blends gaming culture, classical literature, and narrative craft, offering listeners an experience that is both modern and timeless. Adaptation source. This work is based on the public domain story, A Christmas Tree by Charles Dickens. The original text is available through Project Gutenberg as part of Some Christmas Stories, ebook number 1467. Source link, https://www.gutenberg.org/cache/epub/1467-images.html. No copyright is claimed over the original material. This adaptation and performance. Copyright 2025, Gregory H. Howard. This audiobook and adaptation are independent productions, are not affiliated with Mojang, Microsoft, or any official Minecraft property. For inquiries or permissions, contact realmnews247@gmail.com. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including photocopying, recording, or other electronic or mechanical methods without the prior written permission of the publisher, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in critical reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law. A Christmas Tree is the public domain. This adaptation reimagines the story within the world of Minecraft, transforming characters, settings, and events to suit a pixelated, block-filled universe, while maintaining the essence and thematic structure of the original. Publisher, Realm News Publishing, first edition, December 2025. For inquiries, permissions, or licensing, contact Realm News Network, realmnews247@gmail.com. Warning, like the original Dickens tale, some passages may conjure shadows of memory, flickering lights, and echoes of a childhood imagination that refuses to rest. Reader discretion is advised for those prone to nostalgic hauntings or longing for winters long past. The Christmas tree before me rises like a mighty spruce from the heart of a snowy Minecraft forest, its square leaves dusted with flakes that fall silently from the winter sky. Glowstone lanterns hang from its branches, scattering warm light over the gifts stacked beneath. Chests filled with surprises, wrapped in colored wool and tied with ribbons of dyed string. Some ornaments shimmer like enchanted items suspended in the air. Others are carved wooden toys, painted pixel bright by hand. As I look upon it, the tree stands not just as a decoration, but as a monument to years of memories. Each torch-lit bough holding a moment from my life as firmly as spruce blocks support a cabin's walls. Once, many seasons ago, when I was a newish adventurer in the world, still counting my days by how long I survived my first nights, this tree meant something very different to me. Back then, I saw its branches as the edges of the entire world, vast and full of wonder. It seemed like the tree itself reached all the way to the sun at midday, or into the stars at night, when phantoms circled the long hours I spent awake. And under that tree, in those earliest years, lay treasures so magnificent that no enchanted diamond sword could ever fully replace them. I remember the wonder of my first wooden sword, set beneath the tree as if it were a mighty blade from legend. I remember the carved animals, tiny wolves, pigs, and cows, handmade by someone whose face I barely recall, yet whose kindness glows in my memory like a torch placed deep in a mineshaft. There were paintings of tall castles, maps drawn on paper showing biomes I had never seen, and a book with no enchantments but endless imagination. Each gift was a miracle then. Each sparkle of the Christmas tree's glowstone was a star blinking just for me. The ornaments, too, held stories. I remember one shaped like a miniature Enderman, painted black with little white pixel eyes. It fascinated me and frightened me all at once. Another was a tiny chest that opened to reveal an even tinier gold nugget. There were snow golem figurines and creeper-shaped lanterns, and a perfectly cut piece of redstone dust hanging like a ruby. And above it all, at the very top, a shining, handcrafted block of gold, a star that I believe truly held magic. Now, as a grown builder, farmer, traveler, and fighter of many mobs, I stand before the tree once again, and I feel the contrast between then and now. The glowstone is steady, the branches sturdy, but the feelings they stir have changed. Where once I wandered through the world naive and enchanted, I now walk with experience, with stories of hard nights, brave companions, and lonely journeys through distant biomes. And yet, in the presence of this tree, the years peel away like layers of bark. The world grows small again, tender and full of possibility. It is said that a Christmas tree is a doorway into memories, a structure built not just from logs and leaves, but from emotion and tradition. And so, I gaze upon it. The branches seem to darken and glow until they shift before my eyes. No longer a tree of the present, but a tree of the past, rising higher than ever, stretching into those early winters of my youth. Each ornament becomes a memory. Each flicker of torchlight becomes a moment. Each block of green leaves holds a world of its own. I see myself once more, smaller, wrapped in a square scarf made of green and white wool. My boots barely tied, my hands cold but excited. The presents before me shine like diamonds. The house around me, built of oak planks, its windows frosted, feels enormous, though I know now it was but a modest home on a quiet patch of plains. I remember the fire crackling in its furnace, the warmth spilling out to mix with the crisp winter air that snuck in every time someone opened the door. The tree in that childhood home was not nearly as grand as the one before me now. It was smaller, the glowstone lights fewer, the decorations handmade from what little materials we had. But to my young eyes, it was the grandest thing in all of the overworld, brighter than the nether's glow and warmer than any hearth. And so begins the journey. The tree becomes a portal, and the memories it holds shimmer to life like particles rising from an enchanting table. The first memory that takes form is one of simple delight, a toy minecart rolling on a tiny wooden track, circling the base of the tree. Its wheels click softly against the rails, around and around, powered by nothing but imagination. I would watch it for what felt like hours, believing it would someday carry me across mountains and deserts. I see myself pick it up, running across the floor, and pretend I'm traveling to distant villages far beyond the horizon. Then comes the wooden pickaxe, my first. It splinters now in memory, but then it was a mighty artifact. I mined imaginary ores in the living room floor, my imagination conjuring diamonds in every corner. I believed the world held infinite treasure, and perhaps that belief alone was treasure enough. Next, I see a book, plain, unenchanted, but filled with stories written in careful handwriting. Tales of heroic adventures fighting skeletons in the dark. Stories of villages saved from pillagers. Legends of an ancient dragon perched high above the void. I read those tales by torchlight long after the house had gone quiet, and then faded images of my earliest companions returned, friends whose usernames I no longer recall. neighbors who joined the world for a season and then vanished. I see us building snow golems together outside the house, laughing when they shook snow everywhere. I see us racing boats on frozen lakes, crafting cookies, singing silly songs in the chat. As the memories gather, the room around me fades completely. I stand not in the present, but in a great hall of remembered winters, all lit by the trembling glow of that earliest tree. And the tree rises higher still, as if each memory adds another layer of leaves, another branch of meaning. As the tree grew in memory, its branches stretched outward like the years themselves, and more lights awakened upon it. Lights that revealed the strange and wondrous fancies that once shaped my young imagination. For childhood was not only joy and adventure, it was mystery as well. And in the deep corners of those winters long ago, there were shadows that lived beside the glowstone shine, whispering legends of the overworld that frightened me even as they thrilled me. There was the tale, for instance, of the lost miner, a figure who wandered the caves beneath us, forever holding a torch that never burned out. In my memory, I see him still, a blocky silhouette moving slowly through eternal stone corridors. I had been told he dug too greedily, too recklessly, following veins of gold into places no sunlight had ever touched. Something down there claimed him, they said, and though I never saw him with my own eyes, the thought of him lingering below the floorboards used to chill me even when I stood close to the furnace's warmth. And upon another branch of the tree, glittering faintly, hung the memory of the phantom witch. She lived, not in a swamp hut like the witches I battled in later years, but in a drifting tower of cobblestone that floated far above the clouds. She looked down upon the overworld with glowing purple eyes, brewing potions of invisibility and poison, dropping eerie bottles that shattered in the night. The story said she could glide silently through the air, cape billowing like banners in the inn. I remember staring out my childhood window at dusk, convinced I saw her silhouette against the square face of the moon. A different ornament shimmered to life, recalling the fable of the nether pigman who stole children from their beds. He carried them kicking and crying across the threshold of a nether portal that opened silently in their walls. I can still summon the feeling, that cold dread, whenever I pass too near the purple glow of our own portal in the basement, imagining its surface rippling open while I slept. Only years later did I realize how impossible it was for such a creature to appear without the crackle of obsidian igniting. But such logic never softened childhood fear. The terrors remained potent as splash potions and just as quick to cloud my mind. That was a season when shadows seemed alive, when every flickering torch threw shapes along the walls that twisted themselves into imagined mobs, long-legged spiders, howling strays, silent endermen lurking behind furniture. Even now, the memory of that dread, woven into the brightness of Christmas joy, gave the tree a strange duality. Its glowstone shimmered warmly, yet each ornament cast a tiny, trembling shadow underneath, and those shadows expanded into more memories. There were the stories whispered to me by older kids in the village, the tale of the frozen giant who slept under the tundra and might awaken if you mined too loudly, the ghost of the abandoned mine shaft who stole mincemeat pies left cooling by open windows, the skeleton captain who roamed snowy plains in a sleigh pulled by spider jockeys. These fancies frightened me then. They amuse me now. But they belong to those earliest layers of memory, the ones that cling closest to the roots of the Christmas tree. No matter how far the branches rose, these dark, shivering recollections remain foundational remnants of the strange wonder that only a child's mind can fully house. Then another light flickered above me, so softly I almost missed it. It brightened into the memory of the first book of enchantments I ever held. Not a real one, of course, but a toy. Carved from oak planks, its spine painted purple, runes scratched into its sides with clumsy strokes. I had believed wholeheartedly that if I whispered to it the right words, it would hum beneath my fingers and grant me the power to leap higher, run faster, or see into the darkest corners of our attic. I remember taking it to bed with me on winter nights, opening it beneath the covers with a candle stub, reciting nonsense incantations until my eyes drooped. The book never sparkled, never glowed, but the hope was magical in itself. Even now, thinking of it warms me like a well-fed hearth. Another ornament called forth the image of an iron golem toy, its face chiseled with square gentleness, its torso painted with vines. It stood guard at the foot of my bed, and I believed it protected me through the long night cycles. When the wind rattled the shutters or snow slid from the roof, I would place a hand upon its wooden arm, certain it would leap to life if danger came. Then there were the early games, simple amusements made with wool, sticks, buttons, and imagination. A fishing rod tied to a string that lifted tiny cardboard fish painted with bright ink. A snowball target made from a circular slab of birch. A crude redstone contraption that lit up when I pressed a lever. Though, in truth, someone else must have set the dust just right, for I had no skill then. As I remember these things, the tree grows brighter, fuller, richer with old enchantments of childhood. Every branch teems with a toy, a trinket, a story, or a fear. And slowly, the tree's lights swirl and blend until the entire great pine seems to move, as though the memories within it shift from ornament to ornament like particles drifting through a beacon beam. The past was no longer a distant place. It stood around me, vivid as torchlight. And the tree, towering above all, held the whole of it in its boughs. As the memories deepened, the tree's branches rose higher still, lifting me through the years just as steadily as if I were ascending by ladder. The glowstone above shimmered with a gentler light now, no longer revealing the old terrors of childhood, but the wonders that followed in slightly older days. Days when imagination grew bolder, when the world seemed larger, and when stories took on new shape. I saw myself then among other children, gathered not around toys alone, but around grand tales spun by elders in the village square. On winter evenings, when the snow lay thick upon the grass and lanterns glowed from every doorway, we listened to stories of the great adventurers who had lived long before our time. These stories, now distant and half forgotten, once thrilled my young heart more than any diamond armor. There was a legend of the explorer of the far lands, a figure who journeyed beyond the known world, past mountains that scraped the heavens, through forests dark as obsidian night, until he reached a land where the very blocks twisted and warped. They said he battled strange, shifting beasts whose bodies stretched and bent in unnatural forms. He never returned, but his banner, blue and gold, was said to appear mysteriously on distant beaches during storms. I believed wholeheartedly that I would one day find it. Another tale spoke of the first builder, a gentle figure with a beard of snowy pixels and robes of emerald green. He was said to wander from village to village, teaching people to craft furnaces, lay down planks, and raise walls that would not tumble in the wind. The elders swore he had built the very first house in our settlement, though by the time I knew it, the structure leaned heavily to one side and groaned each time it rained. Still, the thought that a legendary hand had shaped our home filled me with quiet awe. On another branch of the Christmas tree appeared the story of the snowfield knight, who rode across the frozen biomes on a white wolf with eyes like blue flame. He carried a banner of red wool and wore armor that sparkled as if covered in frost. He defended travelers from strays and fought great battles against mobs during the longest winter nights. Every holiday season, I looked for his wolf's tracks in the snow, hoping to see where they led. But among all these tales, one memory glowed brightest. The first time I understood that the overworld was wide beyond anything my young self had measured. It came through a simple gift, a paper map placed beneath the Christmas tree. It was handmade, its edges slightly curled, its colors faint, but full of promise. It showed mountains to the north, rivers that cut through plains, deserts far to the west, and ocean expanses that stretched into nothingness. When I unfolded it, the branches of the tree seemed to lean over my shoulders, as though the pine itself wished to see what wonders the world held. Holding the map awakened something in me. It whispered of voyages, of places I had not yet touched, of biomes far beyond the village fences. I remember staring at it for hours, tracing paths with my finger from one corner to another, imagining the creatures I would meet and the treasures I would find. From that moment, the world grew immeasurably larger, and with it, my dreams grew too. The memory of my first real expedition springs up from another ornament, a little boat carved from dark oak. I can still see myself climbing into it as a child, wearing a woolen cap that flapped in the wind. I paddled that boat along frozen rivers during the holidays, pretending I sailed through unexplored seas. I imagined ocean monuments rising beneath me, guardians drifting silently in the deep, their single eyes glowing like underwater lanterns. Of course, the river was shallow and tame, and I never ventured farther than the village outskirts. But it did not matter. In my heart, I had already crossed continents. More memories glimmered among the branches, small but dear. A set of hand-carved villagers, their square heads painted with simple features. A miniature stable made of spruce, a tiny iron helmet that I wore on my thumb, each one a simple discoveries not yet made but already loved. Then the ornaments shifted once more, and the tree revealed scenes of school days, less fantastical but no less important. I remember trudging through snow to the little academy built beside the village well. The windows frosted over in winter, and the interior smelled faintly of books and warm bread. We learned our letters by copying crafting recipes onto clay tablets. We practiced sums by counting stacks of wheat and coal. Our teacher, patient and gray-haired, tapped the board with a stick each time he demonstrated how many planks a log could become. There was this memory of a winter feast, too, when the entire village gathered beneath a canopy of lanterns. Long tables were set with pumpkin pies, roasted potatoes, fresh baked bread, and pies that steamed even in the cold air. Golems stood at the corners watching for any stray creepers. Children ran between them with sparklers made of glowstone dust and sticks. I remember laughter. Music played on old note blocks, and stories shared by the fire. And all the while, the Christmas tree stood at the center of the celebration, its glow reflecting in every window and on every smiling face. As these memories wrapped themselves around me, warm as winter scarves, I felt the tree grow taller still. Its branches thickened with the recollections of joys and lessons learned, each one essential to the growing of a child's heart. And just as before, the memories did not end. They led upward, drawing me toward the next season of life like a staircase built from spruce planks. The ornaments above glimmered faintly, waiting to reveal what lay in the next chapter of those winters long past. As I looked higher still into the boughs of the Christmas tree, the glow deepened into the years when childhood had began to fall away, not abruptly, but softly, like snow descending from an overburdened branch. The ornaments here shone with a quieter light, touched by the first small sorrows and the earliest understanding that the world held duties as well as dreams. The first memory I saw was of apprenticeship, those days when I learned the craft of living from the elders who guided our village. I remembered standing beside the blacksmith, watching sparks fly as he struck iron upon the anvil. The sound echoed like distant thunder, and I felt for the first time the weight of work, the pride of it. He showed me how ore could become tools, how raw material could be shaped into something strong and useful. I held my first iron ingot then, warm and heavy, and felt older by the years. On another branch hung the memory of the farmer who taught me the rhythms of the land. I remembered helping him gather wheat in the waning light of a winter afternoon, my boots sinking into soft snow where the fields met the village path. He spoke gently of patience, of seasons, of how even the quiet ground beneath frost still held the promise of spring. When I carried a bundle of wheat to the barn, I felt a sense of purpose new to me. Nearby glowed a lantern that illuminated my earliest journeys into the caves beneath our world. Not the childish pretend expeditions I once imagined, but real descents, torch in hand, stone beneath my feet, and the knowledge that danger lurked in the dark. I remembered the tremble in my hand the first time a spider hissed at me from the shadows, and the surprising steadiness that followed when I swung a half-broken sword and stood my ground. These were the days of small courage, of first responsibilities, of learning that fear could be faced. One ornament, delicate and carved from birch, held a memory that stirred a quiet ache. It was the recollection of the first farewell that left its mark upon me. A friend, one of those companions from early years whose laughter had once echoed about the village, moved away with his family to a distant settlement beyond the mountains. I remembered standing in the snow, watching their caravan depart, the wheels creaking, the wolves pulling their sleds with slow, powerful steps. I had never known how sharply absence could press upon the heart until that moment. And yet, even in the sadness, the season held warmth, for another ornament glimmered shyly, a simple red wool ribbon that called forth the memory of the first winter when I looked at someone with more feeling than I understood. She was a fellow apprentice, quiet and kind, with hair the color of dark oak and a laugh like the chime of a bell. We built snow golems together one crisp evening, and I remembered how the cold stung my cheeks and how the sight of her smile made the world feel bright as glowstone. Nothing came of it, for we were young and uncertain, but the memory remained tender, suspended gently on the tree like fragile glass. More scenes unfolded, layered upon the branches. I remembered studying by lamplight, practicing with bow and arrow beside the frozen river, learning to mend fences and gather supplies for winter. I remembered the pride of crafting my first complete set of armor, iron plates polished to a dull shine, and the strange mixture of satisfaction and melancholy that came with knowing I was no longer the small child who once played with wooden toys beneath this very tree. But these memories did not stand alone. They linked together and lifted me upward, toward the seasons when youth had ripened into something fuller, when winter feasts grew livelier, friendships deepened, and my place within the village truly began to take shape. I saw one feast in particular, hanging from a high branch like a diamond ornament. Snow had fallen thick that year, and lanterns glowed like scattered stars along the rooftops. We gathered in the great hall, warmed by roaring furnaces, our laughter echoing off the stone walls. I remembered music playing on tuned note blocks, the dancing, the stories told aloud, stories now less of legends and more of shared experience. I felt then the comfort of belonging, the rare and quiet joy of knowing that the world was wide, but I had a place within it. Above this memory hung another, a more solemn one. It was the recollection of the first time I saw real danger touch our peaceful home. A band of pillagers had passed near the village, and their banners snapping in the wind, their steps heavy in the snow. They did not attack, but their presence filled us with unease. I remembered helping repair the fences, strengthening the gates, standing watch with others under a cold, starless sky. It was the moment I understood that the overworld, for all its beauty, could be harsh as well. And yet the tree glowed warmly still, for even in hardship, life held light. These years, neither childhood nor full maturity, were etched upon the Christmas tree as delicately as frost patterns on a window pane. They held lessons, hopes, heartaches, revelations. They marked the path from simplicity toward deeper understanding. And as I looked upon them now, lifted by the branches into later lessons of life, I felt the tree swell with memory until it seemed almost alive, breathing with the pulse of all the winters I had ever known. As I climbed farther into the tree of memory, the boughs grew broader and steadier, no longer fragile with childhood wonder, nor trembling with the uncertainties of early youth. The light here was fuller, warmer, richer. These were the branches that held the memories of my first true independence, of journeys taken beyond the familiar borders of the village, of the widening of my world into something immense and unbounded. The first ornament to glow was shaped like a compass, its needle pointed ever outward. It held the memory of the day I left home for the first time, armed with supplies, armor, and a heart thrumming with excitement and nerves. I remembered the frozen morning breath that drifted from my lips, the iron door hinges creaking as I stepped out into a fresh layer of snow, and the distant line of spruce trees marking the edge of everything I had ever known. I traveled then through forests alive with foxes darting across white ground, their tails flicking like brushes dipped in paint. I crossed ravines where pillars of ice sparkled like crystal towers. I slept beneath the campiest stars, hearing the soft crunch of wandering wolves and the quiet hiss of snow melting against the campfire. The world was vast, and every step widened my imagination as surely as it strengthened my legs. Another ornament shimmered with the memory of my first prolonged journey through the caves. These were no longer the timid descents of earlier years. They were bold excursions into caverns that stretched endlessly, their ceilings dripping with stalactites, their floors glowing faintly with clusters of lichen. I remembered mining redstone that pulsed faintly in the dark, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. I fought skeletons whose arrows clattered like hailstones against stone pillars. I discovered veins of diamond. Their blue glimmer shined like distant beacons promising prosperity. And from those journeys came another glowing memory, the building of my first home away from home. It was a simple structure, stone bricks for the walls, oak stairs for the roof, lanterns hanging from chains to warm the interior. Yet to me, it felt grand. I remembered placing the final block atop the chimney, stepping back in the snow, and feeling a sense of accomplishment more profound than any I had known. It was a moment of independence, a declaration that I could carve a place for myself in the world. Then came the memories of companions met along the way, fellow travelers with whom I shared food, stories, and dangers. One memory glowed brighter than the others. The night I encountered a wandering trader whose llamas jingled softly with the bells as snow fell around us. He spoke of distant biomes, of jungles where vines dropped from towering trees, of deserts where temples rose from sand-like ancient guardians. His tales filled my imagination with new horizons and guided my footsteps for years. Another ornament swirled with the memory of a night spent sheltering with strangers in a mountain cabin. A storm had risen suddenly, freezing the river and bending the trees until their trunks groaned. Inside, besides a roaring fire, we exchanged stories of our travels. One man spoke of seeing the northern lights arch across the tundra like enchanted beams from an ancient beacon. A woman told of exploring an underwater ruin lit by strange blue flames. Their words wove images in my mind that stayed with me long after dawn. From these companions and moments of fellowship came a deeper understanding that the world was made not only of landscapes and structures, but of people whose paths crossed mine, leaving traces like footprints in snow. More memories hung on the branches, moments of challenge and triumph. I recalled facing down a Ravager for the first time, its roar shaking the earth beneath my boots. I remembered the adrenaline, the fear, the wild clarity as I dodged its charge and drew my sword. When victory came, I brought not triumph alone, but humility, an awareness of how quickly life could shift beneath us. I remember too the first time I stood upon a high cliff overlooking an entirely new valley at sunrise. The mountains glowed gold, the river below shimmered like melted emeralds, and a herd of wild sheep grazed peacefully in the frost. In that moment, the world seemed impossibly vast, and my spirit soared with possibility. It was a sunrise that stayed with me forever, rekindled each year with the winter holidays returned. Among the higher branches, I saw the memory of constructing my first great project, a towering lighthouse built on a snowy coastline, its beacon rotating slowly to guide travelers across the dark ocean. I spent weeks gathering materials, shaping the spiral staircase, tuning the redstone. When it finally lit the night with its warm, sweeping glow, I felt a sense of purpose stretch through me like a beam of light itself. These memories, bright and steady, marked the years when my character crystallized, when I learned what courage meant, what perseverance required, what dreams demanded. They were years of risk and reward, of discovery and discipline. And still, the Christmas tree towered above, its highest boughs shimmering with memories that belonged to seasons yet deeper, richer, and more profound. For beyond the journeys and the triumphs waited the years when life expanded from adventure into true belonging, into companionship and shared pursuits. Years that held the warmest lights of all. The branches now reached the loftiest heights, where the air thinned and the glow of the ornaments was tempered by the faint chill of memory. Here the memories were subtler, more reflective, yet no less vital. They were the recollections of community, of bonds forged not merely by shared exploration, but by mutual aid, kindness, and understanding. I remembered the village I helped build at the edge of the forest, where logs and cobblestone were gathered by neighbors, where each roof was raised with laughter and conversation. I recalled the first festival we held there, a winter celebration marked by lanterns hung from every tree, tables laden with baked goods, and the soft crackle of fireplaces in each home. Even the smallest blocks seemed touched by the spirit of generosity, and the air hummed with a warmth more profound than any crafted torch could provide. There were memories of rescue, too. I recalled a time when a young villager became trapped in a mine collapse. I had rushed through the tunnels, breaking stone and cobweb alike, until I reached him, guiding him to safety through the twisting dark. The gratitude in his eyes mirrored the glow of every redstone lamp in our village, and I felt the quiet satisfaction of service, the invisible thread connecting us in a shared world. Among the higher branches, I saw memories of adventure with friends, traversing snow-covered peaks to find hidden temples, crossing deserts to discover buried treasure, and venturing into the shadowed depths of abandoned mine shafts where spiders and skeletons prowled. We laughed in moments of fear and celebrated in triumphs, our voices echoing off stone walls, leaving impressions as permanent as footprints in gravel. A shimmering ornament caught my eye, one depicting a towering castle, its spires reaching toward the starry sky. It brought to mind the countless nights spent constructing fortresses, castles, and keeps with friends. Each block placed was an exact act of imagination made tangible, each wall and tower an emblem of collaboration. We argued, we planned, we built, and Through it all, we learned the rhythms of shared purpose and patience. There were quieter memories as well, solitary moments spent in reflection, gazing out across oceans at sunset, counting the slow rise and fall of waves, or sitting atop a hill, watching the sheep graze in the golden light. These moments, peaceful and unhurried, taught me stillness, the value of observation, and the simple joy of being present in a living, breathing world of blocks and biomes. And of course, there were the lessons learned from loss. The first time a creeper destroyed a cherished building. The first night a loyal companion wolf wandered too far. The first time I lost track of a friend in the maze of caves. Each loss carried grief, yes, but also resilience. I learned to rebuild, to continue, and to value what remained. Every misfortune became a story, every setback a lesson, every echo of disappointment a call to perseverance. As I traced the highest branches with my eyes, the ornaments shimmered like distant stars. They spoke of years of growth, of understanding, of friendship, and of profound beauty in creation, both shared and solitary. Here, the Minecraft world was no longer merely a game, no longer merely a collection of blocks. It was a canvas, a stage, a cathedral of experience. And so, at the summit of the Christmas tree of memory, I paused. I saw my younger self staring upward, eyes wide with wonder, heart quick with excitement, and I smiled. The journey had been long, winding, and often perilous. Yet the light that shone from every ornament, every adventure, every friendship, every lesson, made the climb worthwhile. From the loftiest branches, the world below seemed infinite, each pixel of terrain glowing with possibility, each shadow a mystery waiting to be explored. And I knew, with certainty, that the tree of my life, like the vast Minecraft world, would continue to grow, one block at a time, ever reaching toward new horizons. Thank you for listening to A Minecraft Christmas Tree, a Realm News Publishing adaptation of Charles Dickens' classic tale, reimagined for a world of blocks, biomes, and boundless creativity. The story was written and performed by the Dark Lord, with inspiration drawn from Dickens' A Christmas Tree, first published in 1850 and out in public domain. It was fed into ChatGPT in order to be regurgitated into this Minecraft format. That was the tool I used for this. I am purely the voice speaking it. I hope this journey through memory, nostalgia, and the quiet magic of winter in the Minecraft universe brought you moments of warmth, wonder, and maybe even a little reflection of your own. If you enjoyed this audiobook, consider exploring more Realm News productions, including Realm News Hightail, Realm News Flash, and the Realm News original novella Torvingi and the Village of Alp. Your support lets us continue creating stories, worlds, and adventures, one block at a time. For updates, future releases, or permissions, you can reach us at realmnews247@gmail.com. Until next time, my friends, stay curious, stay creative. Happy crafting. The Dark Lord. Signing out. This has been a Realm News Publishing production.